進み続けた。自由のために戦った。名は進撃の巨人。
Also, Grisha's attack titan already had pointy ears. So I kind of missed the part where he said that Historia is made into a titan that I can touch, that I can get in contact with. So maybe that's crucial to actually triggering the founding titan's powers. The royal blood person has to be in titan form. I don't know, we don't really have too much of a background on that, because the only time it happened that the founding titan power triggered was when it got into contact with a royal blood titan. So we don't truly know if it doesn't work with simply a royal blood person, whichever state it might be on. The other side of the wall. We're out, we're leaving. Oh. Asking the real questions here. It's rough, isn't it? To merely exist casts a terrible shadow over the future. Starting the second line, every model, every person is CG, but it blended well. Oh. Memories. So he tried to argue. He was pretty desperate. You can already tell the difference in Aaron's tone. Okay. That now talk about bittersweet ending. Holy shit. Like finding out something and really finding out nothing. Just raising up more and more questions, and now the questions that hurt deeper. Like, are we bound to cause chaos and conflict, to spark conflict wherever we go just because we exist? Is the freedom out there, or is the freedom truly in just remaining where you are? Because our freedom might mean a whole lot of other things that are not freedom to whoever is out there. And all of this maybe have casted a lot more light into the mindset of the king's will. This very questioning of Eren there at the end might be a lot more revealing about it, because eventually comes a point, right? You either choose a life of war, conflict, and chaos by just facing the world. The mere acknowledgement that the world is your enemy because you're different from the rest of the world. And every population of every part of the world has felt this way at some point. And the mere acknowledgement of that raises the question, should we be out there fighting everyone now and forever? Or should we accept that our only way of true freedom is by isolation, is by stepping back, by being outside of the ranges forever? By extrapolation, you can very easily reach where the king's will came from, and it gives it a deeper meaning, a much more tangible understanding of the reasoning behind it. I was mostly speechless through the whole episode. It's a really heavy episode, a really heavy ending for this season. And they reached the sea. They know what it's like out there. They know what's ahead of them. But it's not there's no hope in it. There's nothing much to look forward to, really. There's only questions. There's only a blank, a huge void of not knowing what to do, of knowing what's right and wrong. And at this point, it's very early on. I'm sure this is all of those moral conflicts, of those complex questionings will get harder and harder as they probably inevitably decide to leave Paradis. The whole scene at the funeral was amazingly done. The atmosphere, the questioning by Flock. This was all very, 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 very strong, very solid. Starting from the scene with Marlowe. Once again, Attack on Titan goes back to its roots of not overly, of just creating these points in which the antitheses of the war glory show itself. There's these moments of demystifying the glory of war. Like, how can you honestly come home and then say to someone that their beloved was great, was amazing, was a great soldier and died bravely, when you actually saw it in their faces that at the very end they were in despair, they were in agony? That's not truthful. That's not rightful. Emotions are the truest and most raw outputs of our inner selves. So there at the end, Marlowe wasn't having any grandiose thoughts about his role, about this war. He was just wishing he was home with Hitch. He was just wishing he never got there. And when Flock speaks that out, he's obviously speaking from a place of a lot of anger, of a lot of resentment, because of everything he just saw. He's traumatized, but he also has his true and very interesting impressions about the things he saw, about how Armin was favored. That feeling of loss, that feeling, it just further enhances this feeling that everything he did and everything he saw was meaningless. And I don't know, maybe that is actually setting up to make it so that the people here in Paradis will not be, from here on, they will not be 100% on Eren's team. So we might have some inner conflicts here of people who are resented with the fact that Irving was not brought back. This adds another interesting layer of complexity here, looking forward. We saw that Grisha actually tried arguing with them, with the king's will. He actually tried to maybe break the spell a little bit, and we saw in Frida's face that she was angry, and the way it looked like it wasn't like she was angry at him. She was angry because she knew the truth of the world, but then eventually she got overwhelmed again by the king's will, and then she simply couldn't do anything about it. You can see that at the very end, Grisha tried to break the spell, but he couldn't. And yeah, we got that scene with outside the walls. I guess the point of that scene was probably to just really cast a powerful, bright light on how Aaron has changed as a person, as a character, how the facts have reshaped his personality, have reshaped who he is. Now he's always pushing forward, more so than ever, being true to the spirit of the Attack Titan. And you can already clearly tell the change in his tone with the Titan. So basically he went from a brat who wanted to kill every Titan out there to someone who's now able to show compassion, to someone he acknowledges as a patriot. Just deepening this underlying theme of Attack on Titan, that you can never truly know someone else's perspective until you examined it with a lot more care. I mean, this is what the show has been all about, right? At its very core, it's that thing that the quick judgments are often wrong. That there's always more to it. Like, it basically came to a point in which all of this can be summed up by a quote from a book I read a while ago. I don't even remember from which book it was, but it's basically nothing ever tells the whole story, and that's really the point of Attack on Titan. You can't really get yourself caught up in any circumstance, aspect, or experience and try to extract from it an entire meaning to understand the entire depth of someone's story, of something, some place's history. There's always more to it. There's always something deeper. There's always aspects you're not considering. There's always things you're lefting aside. And that scene with the sad crawling Titan set the stone on that, on Aaron's change. He sees a Titan now, and he's even like kind of becoming that scene where he touched the Titan. That's kind of Messiah. Like, he's now the one that will go down, that goes down in the ground with the poor, with the wicked one, with the renegade, and he will touch them. He will understand their feeling. He will be able to live their experiences, to know what they've been through. And that's the truest form of empathy, putting yourself in someone else's shoes, living their experiences, knowing at a mind flesh level what they've been through, what's their history, what they suffered, what they did, what brought them to this point, to this miserable point that they are at right now. That is really powerful. That is really interesting, and makes me, for the first time ever, look forward to what Eren will do in the future. Yeah, and we had that very cute ocean scene with all of them going back to being children at the site of wonder, and even Mikasa having a good time, but not Eren. Now Eren has seen the truth, man. Eren has opened the box. He'll never be in peace again. His mind is troubled with all the pain in the world. His mind is troubled by the suffering of all Eldians of all time. He is getting, with each step, further and further away from everyone else here. It will probably come a point in which his ties with everyone will be mostly severed, I suppose. And then we had this scene with the shell. The shell was shown quite some time for me to ignore its existence. Well, you could obviously go the route of thinking that this symbolizes, just leaving the shell, just opening your mind, broadening your horizons, all that kind of stuff. But I think the way he was depicted here, we saw Armin holding it very dearly. I think it meant for Armin as a discovery. Like, for as long as he can remember, his biggest goal, his biggest objective was finding the sea, was getting to the sea, reaching the sea. He finally did so, and he looks and kind of the shell is kind of the embodiment, because he can't hold the ocean. He holds the shell as the embodiment of his achievement. He got what he wanted. That's the most that he can make of his life. He's fulfilled. Eren doesn't pay a lot of attention to it. It's mostly just dear to him. Eren's the only one who didn't really care about the ocean. But for most of them, they're just finding the ocean was very fulfilling, very accomplishing. That, I think, serves the purpose of telling us how Eren's journey may, from this point on, may vary, may differ from the rest of the crew. Because Eren is the only one in this entire episode, or ever since the reveal of the truth of the world, the only one to truly verbalize directly the intention of war, the intention of attacking the enemy, the intention of going beyond, of traveling across the sea. Obviously, he's just conjecturing. He didn't actually try to convince anyone of that, nor even is he himself convinced of that. But he's the one who brought it up, the only one who directly brought it up. So maybe it will come a point in which he will start acting on his own. They're all grown-ups. They're all growing up. They're all very different from even an earlier part of the episode. But it's supposed to symbolize that time passed heavily for them. Even though not chronological time, but in their minds, in their spirits, they grew up a lot in this short period of time. And they now have a lot of different views of the world and different goals. I mean, Armin has just reached his endgame here. Will he be truly interested in pursuing that with all of his heart? What about Mikasa? She's crazy about Eren, but will she be crazy enough to follow him if he decides to go there and destroy Marley? I think that's what the shell means. It's a split point. It's a point of convergence, but also a point where things can start finally going their own separate ways. Everyone gathered there, but now they're coming out of this shell, and each one may end up going in a direction. That's very compelling to think about. Really interesting episode, amazing end for this season. Really bittersweet, really dark, heavy, moody, but very interesting. Just one last thought I had on this last week after I watched episode 9, and we were reminded here once again. They're emphasizing a lot on this Attack Titan. At this point, it's very clear that Shingeki no Kyojin is the journey of the Attack Titan during a certain period of time, during a certain period in history. So what if the Attack Titan is actually kind of the spirit of war himself? We don't know. I don't think we do, right? Who was the Attack Titan before Kruger? But if there's truth to this thing of the 13 years curse, there has been a lot of Attack Titans throughout the years. And as Kruger put it, this is a Titan whose holder have always been the most fiercely warrior, the one who always sought out to fight, the one who always sought out freedom and all that noble, uplifting shit. Attack Titans served only the role of simply setting fire to things, trying to spark up the spirit of war again. The Attack Titan is kind of the embodiment of the revolutionary spirit. No measuring his actions and its consequences on all of the thousands and thousands of people involved, concerned, just keeping the fire burning for the sake of it, finding whichever reason that would validate it. That could give a perfect way out for Isayama for not answering the every elderly ancient question about the Titan origins and this whole supernatural structure binding them all. Because after all, we're just glimpsing a fraction of the history through the eyes of one of the many Attack Titans that kept the chaos running throughout the history. Following this perspective, you could say that this threads of destiny set in the bats had already locked its gaze in Grisha the day he became a trespasser and caused the death of his sister. From that day, he was bound to bear the one Titan who's infamous for trespassing barriers, reaching beyond limitations, morals, traditions, and whatnot, just to push the agenda of a certain freedom, which meaning differs depending on the place and the people you belong to. Maybe to a degree, as much as the King's will passes on to the next founding Titan, it's possible that the fighting will always pass to the next Attack Titan as well, laying the foundations for the unending cycle of war. And if I go by that, and if I go by what I said about maybe Ymir being the source of the King's will, maybe you could even say that the Attack Titan is kind of an antagonist to Ymir, to the founding Titan. Maybe that's stretching a lot, but following this thread, we can probably expect Eren's path to get a lot darker and bring him closer to atrocious acts made by his father and possibly Attack Titans before him. Maybe we will see Eren becoming maybe a villain, but at least an anti-hero, much like his father and pretty much all Attack Titans through history. That's what they're destined to. That's a whole lot to think about. What an ending. Yeah, now I'm going to look out for informations regarding season 4. I will watch the trailer for it, and I will probably read the manga, at least to caught up with the anime. I will not read it any further. And from here on out, I will be looking for recommendations of anything to watch next. I'm down for anything, really. Just if you would like to share a watch with me of anything, just drop it down there and I will consider it. That's it. Thanks.